Hello. Make sure that I can see my chat. Now we wait. Just wait for people to pop in because I had nothing to do right now. I'm not even putting makeup on. I might fix my makeup a little bit just to fuck around and have something to do. But hey, Mariana. Do this. Fix this a bit, maybe. I've been wearing this all day, so that eyebrow came off. Hi, Alyssa. Hello. Hello, Colette. Hello. Hi, Bethany. Franz. We love a beauty guru. Yeah, I'm not really doing any makeup today. Hi, Julie. Hi, Charles. Yeah, I'm not even registering that it's Memorial Day weekend because I won't have off because every day I have off. So it doesn't matter to me. Hello. Yeah, I have no goal for this. I'm just bored. Ooh, yay! Alyssa, happy graduation. What the heck is Memorial Day? It's a holiday in the United States to, I believe, memorialize. It's like a veterans holiday, right? I think. We have Veterans Day, we have Memorial Day, we have the 4th of July, we have like, America loves the military, like a ton. Someone asked if, remember veterans have been lost in battle. Thank you, Cass, for that specific. So Memorial Day is lost in battle, veterans is every veteran, and then 4th of July is just like America. So, yeah. Someone asked if I'll read more Cassandra Clare. I'm only going to be reading The Last Hours, and that's it. I'm not going to read any of the other series that she's doing at all, because I have no desire to. Someone asked if I'll read Stephen King. Nah, don't plan to. Just because never, his synopsises don't appeal to me, so it doesn't really matter who the author is. I'm not really gonna be doing that. Cute little plant baby. These guys, these are my finicky plant babies. I put a humidifier here now. I'll show you. So this is my room now, and there's a humidifier there. And then these bitchy, difficult plant babies. This is exciting though, because this is the plant that Kit destroyed. Make sure my hair is not blocking it. So like all of this stuff I've only kept on so that it won't completely die. But there's a little sprout. I don't know if you can see it because I'm holding my camera in a weird way, but there's a little baby coming. So it's not dead. It's not dead, which is exciting. I'm actually going to put this lipstick on even though I don't need to because I haven't worn this like at all. And I got it like a month ago. I'm dying to hear more about your thoughts on the Black Prism. Did the bothersome undertones ruin the whole story? No. It didn't ruin the whole thing for me, but I'm going into it. I'm going to read the rest of the series. I'm going to do a whole video on this, so I'm not going to and I'm not going to talk about spoilers in here for people that haven't read that series. But, oh man, is that first book, like, so fat-phobic? Like, I don't really pick up on like fat-phobic language. I'll pick up on it, but then I'll forget about it if the story doesn't keep banging you over the head with it. This book like kept banging you over the head with it, and then like a lot of the women in it don't have a ton of agency. So I think this improves because I've heard people who've read the whole series like the whole series. And I liked the last part of it more than the first part, and I felt like the writing even got better like throughout the story. But it wasn't like my favorite first book in a series. I really like the main character, like the main character, Gavin. I love him. And some of the other side characters are really interesting. But yeah, it wasn't like an instant favorite for me. Will you ever continue the Carvel series? No, because I don't hate myself. No, I have no desire to read those. That's one of my videos that I get comments on to this day about, even though it's like a old video, like multiple years old. That review and discussion, I get so many comments on still. Are you going to do a series about the series you'll be continuing, not continuing, about what you talked about on Instagram? Yes. I don't know if I have a ton of series, like, I did put a lot of series in limbo that I'm like, I'm not opposed to finishing these, but I'm not in a super hurry to finish them. And I am going to make a video about all the books that I plan to get after my TBR is down, which is why I was looking at that list to begin with. So, yeah. It makes sense since the Carbell series only finished up. Didn't it finish up, like, last year or the year before? I feel like it wasn't, like, recent that it, like, it's not like the last book just came out, like, last month. Like, I feel like the last book finale came out, like, last year, didn't it? Did you save any of the plants from the nursery on Instagram? No, because those plants were so far gone. So if you guys haven't seen my Instagram stories today, when I posted this, like, these plants were in such horrible condition, and I didn't even show you some of the worst ones. It was bad, and I wasn't going to buy that because I wouldn't be able to save it, you know? Someone said that a 4th book is going to come out in Carbell. The 3rd book was called Finale. That series, okay, I'm not going to get into it because I know some people like that series. That's fucking dumb. It's dumb. Anyway, I don't have any desire. Someone asked about my mask that I was wearing on Instagram. My friend Nicole Sweeney, Sweeney Says, made it, and it's really cute. I don't know if she's selling any of them. I think she's making them for friends. Are you interested in Cassandra Clare's upcoming adult high fantasy? She announced a adult high fantasy. Really? Have I just not been on Twitter? I've just been on TikTok all the time. Maybe that's why I don't know. I would have to see the synopsis, I guess, but I don't think Cassandra Clare can do adult high fantasy. I'm not saying that, like, I'm not saying that she's, like, a bad author. I think her writing is so for YA. Like, she just, like, her writing style, I don't think, like, she hasn't proven to me that she can layer effectively. Like, I think her Shadowhunter world is, like, interesting, but I don't even think she does that much with it. You know what I mean? Like, when I read those books, like, I've only read The Unfurled Devices in the last book in the last hours, I never feel like I'm not reading it for the world. Like, I'm reading it for the characters that just happen to be in this world that's, like, semi-interesting. Like, she just doesn't, I just don't think that's her, like, demographic audience. And, like, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that that's, like, a bad thing. I'm just saying that, like, if you're good at doing that, just, like, do that, you know? Someone said that the 4th book from Carbell might be called Encore. I can't. I have no interest. Someone commented on my gripe and was like, no, you should give the series a chance. I'm like, no, I don't. Especially because, like, I have so many series that I want to read anyway, that it's like, why? Have you ever considered reading the Divine Cities trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett? Yeah, it's on my, like, to-be-read series list. I just want to finish up some of my current series. Yeah, Cassandra Clare doesn't do a ton as far as, like, world building. Like, she sprinkles some stuff in there, but, like, I don't know. I just don't think she does. How many books are left on your TBR? Getting close? Yes, I think I have, like, 12 or 13 books. So I'm trying to read 3 more before the end of the month. Aww. And then I could finish 10 next month. It's cutting it super close because I do have a lot of, like, larger books still on my TBR. So I don't know if I'd get it. But I'm hoping. And then I did, like, go over last night the books that I'd want to buy. Like, because I was going over all the series that I want to continue, because the first round of books that I buy, especially, I want them all to be books in series I've already started and I want to continue. So I went through and calculated all the books that I want to buy and the cost. And I'm just, like, gonna do a haul of, like, over $100 in books, because it's, like, 8 books. And, like, they're almost all adult fantasy books or science fiction, but mostly adult fantasy. So they're, like, all over, and even paperback, like, all over $15. Some of them are, like, $25, and I'm like, like, I'm just gonna be spending a ton of money right then, but I'm just going to be trying to catch up on series. So I'll be doing a video on that. I missed a couple of the comments. Enjoyed your spreadsheet video. Why did you start deciding to use one? Curiosity, stats for Booktube? Kind of both. I saw other people's spreadsheets and I was like, that's fun. And like, I never really report on my stats to you guys besides at the end of the year. But I kind of just want to be able to like track that. I find it really motivating. I find it really interesting. I like having a more in-depth look at it, you know? So yeah, kind of started doing it and then it's almost like a checklist kind of thing. Like I like almost like crossing stuff off, which I get the same enjoyment level from entering stuff on a spreadsheet. How's your Tome Topple going? Good. I finished, I did a vlog, so a vlog will be coming up Saturday. I finished 2 books during Tome Topple, really 3, but one I started before, so I didn't count it for Tome Topple because I had like less than 400 pages left when like Tome Topple started. But yeah, so I got a decent amount read. And I think all the books I put on my TBR for Tome Topple, I'll have read by the end of the month, which is great. Are you going to continue the Addicted series, Calloway Sister series? Yes, I think so, but I don't know when because they're expansive. And I don't love buying ebooks, like romance ebooks specifically, for more than like $2.99. I always wait for them to be on sale, and they're never on sale. The Calloway Sister series is like never on sale, and they're always like $7 or more. So I don't really want to do that. So I don't know when it's going to be, when I can get all these other romance books for either free on NetGalley or like $1.99 on Kindle deal. Any advice for getting your physical TBR down? I find mine intimidating, but still want more in series I love or by authors I love. I think what I did is be really picky about what you're bringing in. Like, and that's, you have to make your own choices about what, that kind of stuff. But basically, like, I didn't let myself get books like just because I heard about them and they sounded interesting, you know? Like, there's books that fall into that category, and then there's books that are like, I'm actively interested in this, and I only let myself bring in books I was actively interested in. And then yeah, I just focused on it. I don't know. I just tried to read a lot off my TBR, tried to not get super distracted by like new books, tried to remember that like I have, especially because I have a lot of series, like I have a lot of series that I wanted to get through. And I'm compelled to like finish up series 2 because I want to be able to talk about like full series. And I don't know, like it's hard to say like how to get your physical TBR out. I mean, besides getting rid of books that you know you're not going to read on it. But if I've gotten to a point where you're like, I really am going to read all these books, then it's just kind of doing it. Interested in any Marie Lu books? Nah, I think I'm done with Marie Lu. I tried to read the, what's that? The Young Elites. I read the Young Elites, the first book, twice to try to continue with that series. Could not get into it. And didn't really like it. Didn't really want to get into Legend. Have no interest in the Warcross. And then I did read The Kingdom of Back by her recently, like last month, I think. And it was just fine. I don't particularly like her like writing style or anything, so I don't think I'll be continuing. Will you ever read The Diviners by Libba Bray? No. I've talked about this at length. Is it spoopy? I won't do it. And I always have people, whenever I say it, that they're like, it's not that scary. And then I have a ton of other people that are like, it's really scary. It's a good choice that you are not going to read it. So no, I'm never going to read The Diviners. Sadly, because I would have liked to have, but I just, no. Are you going to do any more tier ranking videos? Yes, but they're actually kind of a pain in the ass to edit. Because you have to like sync up the screenshot. It's just like a pain. So I have footage for 2 more that would go on my other channel. Like they're both like, I think one's, no, do I only have 1 more? Maybe it's only 1 more. I have the Grey's Anatomy ships, and I think I might have done the Vampire Diaries. I don't remember. I was planning on it, but it's just like, it's just a bitch to edit. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people are doing them right now and they're like very popular, and I like filming it. Like I like filming it and I like the end result, but I hate I hate editing them. They're just a pain in the ass. Makes me sad. Do you like, what do you think of The Ruin of Kings so far? I'm reading an audiobook and I am really liking it. I'm hoping to finish it by the end of the month. I almost want to switch to the physical copy just to read it faster, but I really like the audiobook. So I think I'm going to continue. I'm a little over halfway through. So, will you read Ruthless Gods soon? Yes, in theory, I'll read it next month. I think. Yeah, I think. Hello from Canada. Are you caught up on your comic and graphic novel series? No, that's gonna all be happening the end of the year. Like after I finish my TBR is when I'm gonna buy a ton of books, including graphic novels, to catch up. Hi, Matthew. Should I read Stray by Rachel Vincent? Will it fit in my trash pocket? Okay. Yes. So I loved the first book, Stray. Loved it. Like, Inhale read it, gave it 5 stars, loved it. It gave me all of the, like, Anita Blake early, you know, those kinds of paranormal romance, urban fantasy feels. The second book I didn't like, and I haven't continued, but I want to continue because everyone I know that's read that series is like, oh, the second book is like, you know, not as good. But it just felt really repetitive and like, I just didn't like it. But yeah, it gives a lot of like, there's problems in it. Like the main couple, the dude is like kind of possessive. But they're werecats. Like, so I'm just kind of like, fine, you know, like, and it was written in like, I think the late 90s. So I'm just kind of like, but it appeals to my trash brain that grew up on paranormal urban fantasies. What's the line for you between paranormal and thriller, suspense, horror? Paranormal is like, for me, like I can only read paranormal that's paranormal romance, for example. Like I can't read something that isn't that because that feels safer to me because if if like the creepy things can love you, they're like less creepy, I think is where, like, I've never thought about this, but like if the creepy things can be on your side, then it's kind of fine. Horror is like everything's out to kill you, you know? And it's creepier. Like horror is like paranormal romance, urban fantasy can have creepy moments. Like is it the third book? Matthew could tell me. There's a scene in the Anita Blake series that haunts me to this day where it's basically like a bunch of like zombies sewn together to make a giant blob zombie, and it's fucking horrifying. But that's a scene in that book, not like the whole thing. Like it's a scene. So yeah, where horror feels more sinister. Horror has less hope. Yeah, if the creepy things can love you, it gives them more humanity, which makes them less creepy. Sense of hope. Yeah. Someone asked about the new Hunger Games book. I did a video talking about any newer books or upcoming books and if I'll read them. So check that out. So I know her books have problems and are controversial, but do you plan on reading any V.C. Andrews? No, just because like synopsises don't appeal to me. I think my mom used to read V.C. Andrews, maybe. But yeah, I mean, I will read anything if the synopsis appeals to me, but if it doesn't, then I won't. That's my only rule. I've been holding this forever, so I should probably just put it on my lips. Hi, Joe. So let me make sure that I go back and make sure I didn't miss any questions. Have you read the off-campus series, Briar U series by Elle Kennedy? No, but I hear a lot about Elle Kennedy, so like, I might at some point. Did you like the book Sight Witch? I didn't. I liked it more after I read Blood Witch because there's stuff that's referenced in there. How are the fur babies? They're good. Close to reading The Silvered Serpents. Yes, it'll probably be after I finish like most of my TBR. Because I want to reread Gilded Wolves. So. How many books have you read in total ballpark? Like in my life? Well, the books that I have like cataloged on Goodreads are like, I think I have like 600 read books on Goodreads. And that's just that I cataloged on Goodreads. So I think it's probably 700 or 800 because I think I probably read about like 200. At the speed that I read as a child, I probably read like 200 books before I even started on Goodreads. And Goodreads wasn't even like, when I started on Goodreads, I went back and marked down some of the books that I remember reading as a kid. And there's probably about 200 or so more than that. So 800 books in my 30 years. Not bad. It's not bad. Are you interested in reading any classics in the future? Sure. I have a number of classics that I own that I plan to pick up in my life at some point. Do you read historical romance? I have. It's not the genre of romance that I reach for the most, but I don't hate them. I do enjoy them. How are all the plants doing? Generally, really well. Nothing is dying. I bought a new air plant because my air plant that I had died during the move because of the exposure of temperatures. Is the only plant that like didn't do well. But everything else seems to be okay. Like these plants, my calatheas, are stable. They're not thriving. And then the one I just showed you like is getting a new bud. So like that's great. The guys back there are all like they're on fire. Let me see if I can show you on the shelf. Like they're doing great. Those guys are all growing a ton. And then I have some in the kitchen. My mom has a garden window. So there's a ton in there and they're all doing really good. Like everyone's like doing really well. So that's exciting. You seem to space out reading books and series. Why is that? Do you not enjoy binging series, or you're trying to space them out between different wrap-up videos? I was actually thinking about this because when I was looking at the series that I want to read next, I was like, I don't want to necessarily binge read, but I used to binge read series a little more, like when I first joined Booktube, and then I stopped. And there was no like intentional stopping. I feel like whenever I read a book, I sort of like, every time I read something, I try to like pick up something slightly different right after it. So just to like mix it up for my brain. So I think that's why I sort of got away from binge reading series. I'm not opposed to having a ton of series in a wrap up. Plenty of people I've watched have been like, hey, I binge read the whole Robin Hobb everything in 1 month. Cool. So it's not really that. It's just like for my own like attention span maybe. I think that's why I kind of skip around a bit. But I also wouldn't mind, like, can I binge read again? It's funny, because I feel like if I had more, because a lot of times, like, I don't buy the whole series, right? So I can't really binge read them. This next round of books that I buy, I mean, I'm only planning on buying the next book in the series for the next round too, so I don't know. But if I were to buy all of the books to finish all the series I want to finish, I would have them all at my disposal, and technically I could binge read them. I don't know, because like even for when I finished Nevernight last month, the Nevernight series, I read God's Grave, and then I intentionally read a couple other books before reading Dark Dawn. I could have jumped right into Dark Dawn, I owned it, but like I just want to skip around a bit. I don't know. I was trying to think of the reason for that. Yeah, so that's funny that you said the Expanse series is very bingeable, because I feel like of all the series that I'm going to continue reading, and that's one of them, I almost feel like I could binge that one, which is great because there's like 9 books that I have to, well, no, I think there's, once I read, I'm on the 3rd book that I have to read. It's on my shelf now. So then 8 books are out in the series, I think, right? So yeah, I would have 5 more to read. But I can see myself being able to binge a couple of those in a row. Oh, someone said, I wish you had super chat. You have helped me so much with bad mental health days and wanted to pay you back. Oh, thank you. I don't even know how to get super chat. Do you guys know how that works? Because like yeah, all I have is like live chat and top chat. So but I've watched other people, not booktubers, but like beauty gurus and stuff like that have super chat. I don't know. If you guys ever like my content, feel free to join me on Patreon. That's like the one thing that I have. But yeah. Super chat. I don't know how that works, but thank you. That's really sweet of you. How are you feeling about Mass Effect getting remastered? Stoked. If they like fully confirm that, I'll be very happy. But yeah, it's so funny because right after I finished my most recent playthrough, which was like last month, I think, of the trilogy, I was like, okay, I'm going to take a break for a while. Any other games I have to play, I'm going to take a break. And then right after it was like remaster, and I was like, fuck. I mean, like, it's not coming out soon anyway, so it's okay. But I'm like, oh my God. Like, but I cannot wait to see my kids like in HD remastered. It's going to be so exciting. I can't wait. I can't wait. It's gonna be so good. And then I can finally get rid of my PlayStation 3 because my PlayStation 3 is so bugged. Like, I have to sit there and like turn it on multiple times before it actually turns on. Like, I have to, like, what I do these days when I play my PlayStation 3 is I read while I keep hitting the button until finally it decides to turn on. So I'd rather just play on PlayStation 4 and 5 when the 5 comes out, because I'm sure that's what the remaster will be for. So, hype for that. I'm going back because I feel like I missed some stuff. Okay, I don't want to go back too far, so... Have you had any memorable experiences meeting authors or booktubers? Any authors or booktubers that you want to meet? I mean, the biggest memorable experiences are like Lee Bardugo, Erin Morgenstern, like my faves. Otherwise, authors, like, I don't get super excited about authors, but just because, like, they're people, you know what I mean? So, like, I don't really feel like there's an author that I'm like, oh my God, I have to meet them. Like, all of the authors that are my favorites, I've met. So I'm okay. Like, my only author that I hadn't met that I wanted to meet was Erin Morgenstern. I would gladly see her again. She's great. Lee's great. But those are the only two that I'd be, like, hyped about. Oh, and I love Susan Dennard, but, like, I meet her and, like, we DM sometimes. So, like, I don't, like, she's cool and I like hanging out with her when I've seen her before, but, like, that's a different experience, different, like, sort of parasocial relationship. I don't know. As far as booktubers, I feel like I've met most of the people that I, like, love. And I'm, like, friends with most people that I, like, love. So I'm trying to think of, like, a booktuber that I haven't. I think I've met, like, all of them that are, like, people that I love a lot. Like, Joss from Yogi with the Book, Matthew. I haven't met Cass. Cass is in here. I would like to meet Cass. Maybe some of the Booktube SFF people, probably, because I feel like I haven't met a lot of them. Like, I've met Thomas from SFF 180. I know Connor. I went to Connor's wedding. But like, Cass, Rachel, Elizabeth from Books and Pieces, Kitty G. No, I'm just listing off people's names. Like, all those people I would love to meet and hang out with. Who else? Shay from Shay Adventure, who, like, doesn't make videos a lot anymore, but who I love. Yeah, like, all the Booktube SFF people. Like, I really want to go to, like, a Worldcon, but I'm not actually sure the material I'd, like, love a ton, actually, from, like, that convention, and it's expensive, and it's usually right around BookNet Fest, so I've never been able to go, but, like, that's where they all go, and I'm like, fuck, like, I want to meet them. So, yeah, that's been basically, like, my goal is to meet a lot of the Booktube SFF people. And I met some, like, I met, like, Najiri's been at, BookNet Fest. Finally met Adriana from Perpetual Pages at BookNet Fest. Yeah, so a couple of the Booktube SFF people have been there, but, like, the big one is Worldcon, and I'm like, that's expensive, because it's usually an international convention, and I'm just like, I can't. Okay. I know you don't do many challenge videos, but reading sequels all at once would be fun. I considered that, actually. I've been like, should I, like, do a bunch of sequels and, like, make it a reading vlog? So I might, when it's all said and done. Are you still bullet journaling? Yes, but I haven't for the last, like, 2 weeks, because, like, I was kind of like, why am I doing this when I have nothing to do? As soon as life happens again, I will, like, absolutely be bullet journaling again. But lately it's just been kind of like, I'm filling this in with the few things I do, but I already know those things, so I don't need a bullet journal, and it just is, like, depressing. So it'll just kind of be, it'll be like new moon. It'll just be like weeks of nothing, blank pages. So I'm like, I'll just wait and not waste the pages. So yeah, that'll be nice to get back to that though. Are you reading Lore Olympus? Yes, I'm not caught up because I wait, like I'll read a ton of it. So I have a ton of chapters to read, or a ton of issues, or whatever you want to call them, episodes. And then I don't read it for a while, and then I let like 25 pile up. I think I should probably read it again soon. And then I catch up. Because I hate reading a chapter at a time. Absolutely not. For a comic, absolutely not. I can't do it. I can't do it. I put off reading that series in general for the longest time because I wanted it to be like done. And then I started it thinking that it was like close to being done. It's not. And I caught up in like 2 days and I was like, what? Like it was annoying. Are you happy to have moved back home right before the pandemic? Seems it turned out to be good timing. Yes, although I'm also like bitter because I moved home to be closer to people, to be closer to friends, to make more friends, to have relationships, to date. Can't do any of that. Like I've seen my parents, obviously. But even that, like I've actually thought over the last couple of days, like I'm very grateful to be here, very grateful to like be able to stay here as long as I need to, all that stuff. But I'm like, I think possibly my mental health would be better if I was in my own space, still in Illinois. Like it wouldn't have been good to be like in Delaware, but I miss my own space, man. And it's gotten past the point of like, it's not so much like I've gotten used to the noise and having people around, because that was what I had to adjust to back in like February. Like that was a little rough. I'm used to that now, but I just want like everything to be mine. Like I do yoga a couple times a week, but I have to plan it for when both my parents are working, because they like my mom works certain days a week, my dad works certain days a week. So, and I don't really have the space in my room to do yoga, so I have to do it in the living room. So to do it when they're gone, where it's like if no one was there, like I could do it whenever I want. Food, like eating, I'm so lazy because this pandemic is just like exhausting me that like I'll just eat whatever they're eating, but they eat a lot of stuff that like I don't necessarily like. So I'm just kind of like, this is fine, and I'm grateful to have the privilege to live with a family that has access to food. That's all good, but I'm also like, I would be eating differently and probably feeling better in my body like if I was on my own and having to do this stuff, you know? So like it's easier being here, but also like I don't feel like my full self necessarily all the time. So yeah, that's the kind of like challenge, I guess. I've definitely gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like return to life, because when I first moved home before the pandemic started, or like it was a pandemic but like it hadn't hit here, I was like, I'm gonna get so used to just doing this, and I did get used to just like not having to work and being off and like living off my emergency fund and all this stuff. And I was like, how am I gonna go back to work? It's so nice to not be like burned out at my job and just be able to do whatever the fuck I want. I finally, like in the last few days, actually, probably because of all that planetary shifting with the astrology, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, like, I think I'm ready. Like, I think I'm ready to work again. If the pandemic hadn't happened, I would have started working like probably this month, with how it takes, how long it takes for like the paperwork. That's the other thing too, is all my paperwork for switching my social work license over to Illinois has gotten stalled because of the pandemic. So like I couldn't even work right now if I wanted to, but I probably would have gotten everything in order by like beginning of May if everything would have gone as planned. But now I'm like, okay, like I think I've recovered from the burnout. Now I'm burnt out on doing nothing. I'm ready. I just don't know what it's going to look like when all this is said and done. That is one thing though, like I'm a medical social worker. We're needed. And the trauma that everyone's going to have, we're going to all have jobs. Like I'm going to be fine. So I'm not worried about that, which is nice when there's a lot of concern about jobs and stuff like that. Someone asked about mental health training and avoiding burnout. Man, that is like a constant thing. We do a ton of training on it. All of our conferences involve like how to avoid burnout, blah, blah, blah. I would almost say that it's nearly impossible to not get burned out at some point. Like I think the thing what you have to do, I'm just gonna put this down because I'm not putting it on my lips. I think what you have to do is just like accept that you're gonna get burned out at some point and just find the field that burns you out least. And that you can find the most enjoyment from, because the whole mental health field profession is like not very well respected still. It's gotten better, but like it's still not very well respected. We're not paid what we should be paid. We're also treated like we should be doing this out of the kindness of our hearts. And like, if you want to be like paid well, then you're selfish and like you're doing this for horrible reasons and blah, 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 blah. So like there's all of that. And then you're dealing with like really shitty circumstances and other people's like trauma and being traumatized and just shitty work conditions. So you basically have to choose a field that like brings you some kind of joy in the content of your work. Because if you're working a job where the content is challenging in a not beneficial way for you, and then the environment of like not being paid enough, being shit on, having to work too much, having to be on call, like all that stuff, if you have that on top of it, you're gonna burn out. So yeah, and you just have to know like what your limits are, set really good boundaries, learn boundaries, because I'm one of the people at my jobs always, the people are like, your boundaries are so good. And I'm like, yeah, because I don't want you to take advantage of me, because I've seen so many people that just like bend over backwards for companies, and this is true of any field, and then just get shit on. Like it is not beneficial to do that, and to like ruin your own life and like set yourself on fire to keep a company warm, please. So yeah, it's just garbage. So yeah, just be prepared to get burned out at some point. Hopefully try to find a job that has good like leave time and stuff, I guess, but even that's like hard to find, especially in America if you're American. So yeah, and just like cultivate your own hobbies as well. Yeah, you're welcome. I hope that's helpful, because it's just kind of like, I feel like all the social workers and mental health people are all just like, it's shit, man. like I love what I do when it's good. But there is a lot of just shitty stuff about it. And there are times, like there have been times, especially in my last job, that I was like, will I be able to do this forever? I don't know, man. Kiss, Marry, Kill. Oh God, Wonder Woman, Black Widow, and Captain Marvel. I think I would marry Wonder Woman because she's total wife material. Like she just gives me like wife vibes. Hook up with Black Widow because she's like my original superhero crush. And kill Captain Marvel, but it's like a loophole because I don't think she can like really die. Like I'm sure she can die, but like how am I gonna kill Captain Marvel? You know what I mean? It's like kind of a loophole. She's oh, I think the reason being, I don't think Captain Marvel and I would be compatible romantically. So as much as I'm like your bae, I just don't think it would work. But yeah, Wonder Woman is definitely like wife, and Black Widow is like hook up, friends with benefits, maybe. So my hair's curly like yours, and I've seen you put clips in your hair. Is that for volume? Any good tips for curly hair? Look up the curly girl method, and look up the curly girl method on like Instagram especially, and you will find a plethora of information. There's a lot on YouTube too, but like Instagram is like where it's at for hair tips. And yeah, I put the clips here at my roots for volume, and I also dry like just my roots when I wash my hair, and then I let the rest of it air dry with the clips in. So yeah, curly girl method is the way to go. There is my hair is so much healthier and in better condition and just like great. So oh God, Kiss, Marry, Kill. Now we're going for the guys. Bucky, Ben Solo, and Spike. They're all trash. But I love most of them. Bucky, Ben Solo, and Spike. That's a weird array. Those are all such different vibes, man. I'm pretty sure, okay, like I'm marrying Bucky. I'm marrying Bucky. I think I have to. Like, that's my husband. I'm hooking up with Spike. He's so hot. Pre or post doesn't matter. Like, pre or post, Drusilla doesn't matter. Both. And then I think I'm killing Ben Solo, but not. I think mostly because we didn't get to see Ben in the movies. A tragedy that it was. Like, the few minutes that we got to see of him being Ben is great. Like, I loved it. I love the shrug. I love the, you know, the shooting the gun. I loved all that. But I didn't get to, like, immerse myself in it. Because I was one of the few people that actually, like, I don't, like, Kylo Ren is not my boyfriend. You know, like, a lot of people are like, oh my god, Kylo Ren. Like, I don't stan Kylo Ren. You know? So, I don't. I like him just fine. But, like, I don't love him, okay? So, I feel like I need to, like, really talk about this because I feel like I'm on a list somewhere of, like, being a Reylo, and I'm just kind of, like, I'm not even that intense about it. So, yeah. So, yeah. Ben, I think, would die. But I did hear recently, TikTok told me, that, apparently, he wasn't supposed to die in the movie. Yeah, like, they fucked everything up. So yeah, but I have lived so many years of my life loving Bucky Barnes and especially loving Spike. So, like, Ben Solo cannot compare, okay, to the years. Like, I have loved Spike since middle school. I have loved Bucky since, like, college, I think, was when those movies started coming out. Oh my boy, I love Sebastian Stan so much. So yeah, that's it. Sorry, I spent so much time with this. Now I'm looking at all your comments because I didn't see what all you were saying because I was so focused on what I was saying. Ooh, any tips for setting boundaries in professional settings, especially as workspaces are opening back up in the pandemic? I think you just have to, like, be firm but professional as far as, like, examples of things. So, for example, like, on call was a thing that we had to do, that I've had to do for numerous jobs. And my most recent boss, who I did not necessarily get along with, she would always try to guilt us into, like, taking additional shifts. And I would just be like, you know, I have plans already. I've done my 2 shifts. So, and not really apologize. Like, I think that the thing is too, is, like, not apologize for setting boundaries, because you don't need to be sorry for, like, not bending over backwards for a company, you know? Are you guys talking about The Covenant in my comments? Because that is, like, one of the best movies of all time. So, yeah, where did you guys talk about The Covenant? Yeah, I love Sebastian Stan since The Covenant. Same. So here's the thing. The Covenant is one of the best movies ever made, but it's garbage. But I watched it all the time. I love the shitty blue filter on it. All of the men in it are very attractive. The way that Sebastian Stan says more power, my friend and I used to say all the time, it's good. And it's just male witches being ridiculous, and I just love it. I love it. So yeah, it's one of my favorite trash movies of all time. Do you recommend The Winter's Curse? Yes. I love that series. It's very good. What are you currently reading? I just started Realm of Ash by Tasha Suri today. So look forward to probably me gushing about that, since I loved Empire Sand so much. I'm sure I'm gonna love Realm of Ash. So I'm hype about that. And I'm still reading Ruin of Kings on audiobook, and I just started Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker on ebook for my romance book that I'm reading. That's how many books I'm juggling at one time right now. We should do a watch along of The Covenant. I would not be opposed. I don't think I own it anymore, though. I don't think. Yeah, Empire Sound is so good. So yeah, I'm very excited. Should I put this lipstick on that I was holding this whole time? How are you liking Rune of Kings? I'm liking it. I like the audiobook. So far, so good. So I think it'll be a good series. Let's see this. Ah, yeah, look at that. Yes. Any good audiobook recommendations? I love the Station 11 audiobook. Not that I would read it right now. I love... I'm trying to think of some, actually. I love The Heat You Give on audio. I'm trying to think of, like, some of the audiobooks that I've read, but I cannot think of any right now. I love all of the Book of the Ancestors on audio. How do you feel about the cliffhanger at the end of Kingsbane? I'm a little bit deceased about it still. Is that my jaw? Oh my god. I like the Sylvain Nouvelle series too. I'm trying to think of what that's called on audio. Have you ever participated in cosplay? Yes, but it's all been original characters. I had a steampunk cosplay I did for a while. I actually just got the Daisy Jones and the Six audiobook, but I haven't started listening to it yet. I got it from my library. Yeah, I am interested in Sylvain Nouvelle's, like, other stuff. The Golem and the Genie is good too on audio. I'll listen to that on audio as well. How do you feel about the ending of King of Scars? I'm not that enthused by it, actually. King of Scars was not my fave. Did you read Evelyn Hugo? Yeah, I did. I read that on physical copy, though, not on audio. I love that book. I love that. Oh my god. What a beautiful color. Wow, that makes my eyes pop even more than they did before. Oh my god. Yee. Who was your number one author if you read all their books and loved it? I mean, Erin Morgenstern, she's only had 2. But I've read all of her books and I've loved all of them the mostest. I don't think I have any other author that's like that top level for me. Quite like she is. Like she's just amazing. And yeah, she beats Leigh Bardugo because I haven't liked everything that Leigh Bardugo has written. I didn't love King of Scars. I did not have any desire to read the Wonder Woman book that she wrote. I may or may not read Ninth House, even though I own it. Talked about that before. So yeah, Leigh Bardugo is not my all-time favorite. What did you like about the Night Circus? I've done a whole video on that. So I'm not going to go into that here. But check out my video. I heard the Night Circus was becoming a movie. It's been optioned for a while. So I hope that it does. And I think we're supposedly in production at one point. I don't know. So I don't believe in things becoming movies or TV shows until I see the proof. Like, do you guys remember that we're supposed to have a Shatter Me TV show? And that was like announced, I think in 2015 or 2016. Where? Where is that? That's like in crazy limbo. So, Between Night Circus and Starless Sea, which would you recommend more? I don't know which to read first. I would start with the Night Circus because I think the Night Circus and the Starless Sea have a similar vibe to them. Like, you can tell they're written by the same person, even though they're very different books. But the Starless Sea, it feels like huge in its world, where the Night Circus is like, it's the circus. You know, the Starless Sea is like everything. And I feel like the Starless Sea is like way more layered. Like the Night Circus is very layered, but like the Starless Sea is like even more so. So I think you're better off to read the Night Circus first, even though they're not connected in any way. It's not like it's a series or anything, but yeah, I would recommend that for sure. Do you listen to nonfiction on audio? Yeah, sometimes, although I don't get a lot of nonfiction books. They can't keep my attention. Do you have any low maintenance foundation recs for sensitive skin, like nothing too cakey for dry skin? Yes. So the foundation that I've used for like a while, even when I had really bad acne, was I would use concealer, but then I would use the Meow Cosmetics. It's dirty because of my mascara. Flawless Feline, and it's a powder foundation, like a loose powder. It's amazing, and they have every color skin tone that you could possibly imagine. Like, for real. They're an indie company. It's vegan and cruelty free. And you can get samples of all the foundations in like little like sample sizes for very inexpensive, or like possibly even free, but I think it's inexpensive. And they have every skin tone, every undertone, and they have 3 different, like I use the Flawless Feline, but they also have like, and that's like the most high coverage, because it's powder, so I use it for high coverage. But then there's a medium and a light coverage as well. So they have 3 different kinds in every color imaginable and every undertone. And they're all named after cats. It's great. And it's good for dry skin. Like, because I have dry skin as well, and it's not cakey. It never cakes up. It's great. Your nails are looking so good. Thanks. I've been doing them myself. I need to give myself a fill though, because like, look. Ugh, it looks so bad. But it's a pain in the ass to do them, so I need to do them. Like, I think I'm gonna file all the polish off tonight and then give myself a fill tomorrow, hopefully. Who do you want to see play the 2 main characters in the Night Circus? I don't have any fan casts because I'm really bad at fan casting. Do you have a reading routine? Not really. Like, I just kind of read. I usually read for like 2 half-an-hour periods during the day, during quarantine specifically. And then at night I just like read like most of the evening until it's time to go to bed. It's like most of what I do. And I do audiobooks when I take a walk. Do you feel the price on books is reasonable, or should it be priced higher or lower? I don't really have an opinion. Like, there are some books, like I think ebooks are priced like way too high generally for being like an ebook. But yeah, I don't know enough about like the market and how that works for me to be like, it's too high. You know, like I think young adult books are priced like fairly okay. It's when you start getting into like the adult fantasy category that I'm like, 23 books or $23 for a paperback. You know, even though yes, it's like 800 pages, I get it, but like, I don't know, I don't love that, but I don't really have an opinion, so. Have you ever been tempted to get any tattoos inspired by books, movies, TV shows, etc. that you like? Not really. Like, I only really want one tattoo right now, and it's Persephone inspired. But I've vaguely been tempted in the past for, what was it? Mass Effect. But I can't see myself getting like I mean, part of me does want an N7 tattoo, but like, I'm not an N7, you know? So I'd much rather just buy like merch, you know, for Mass Effect than get a Mass Effect tattoo. But yeah, the only tattoo I want is a Persephone inspired tattoo. And I don't know if I'll ever get it, but in my head, that's what I'd get if someone forced me to get a tattoo. Do you think that the Shadow and Bone show will be well produced? I think so. Lee seems like decently involved. And it looks like they're taking some interesting twists and stuff, so I think it'll be good. What's your next romance read? Well, I just started The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker, so that's going to be my current next finished read. I just started last night. I think I read like 2% of it. And then after that, I do have an arc of Take a Hint, Danny Brown, which is the next book in the Talia Hibbert, like Chloe Brown Sisters series. Like Get a Life, Chloe Brown was the first book. So, what was the quickest, fastest you've ever read a book or a book series? I've read a book in one day. I don't love that. I don't necessarily recommend reading a book that's like 300 pages or more in one day, but I have done it. Do you prefer contemporary or historical romance? Definitely contemporary. Yeah, definitely contemporary. I don't mind historical, but I feel like historical, whenever I see like synopsises, and I know this is not across the board, but it always seems like they follow a more like conventional, they have a lot of the same tropes because it's historical. So it's like always like the good girl with like the rogue. And I'm so kind of sick of, like, I don't love that. Like, I don't love that in general. Like, I don't love that in contemporary or historical, but it just seems to be like very common in historical. Like, whenever I'm going through NetGalley and looking at romances and I see historical, I'm just like, all of these synopsises have her like, you know, a rogue, blah, blah, blah. He's, you know, he's a troublemaker. He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. And I was like, I'm fine with bad boys, but like, not all the time. And I don't want her to be like super virginal either. So the only one that I've read that I've really loved has been, Sarah McLean is the author. A Rogue by Any Other Name was the one that I read. And he was like a rogue, I guess. But I want to continue that series. Ooh, a historical romance I really recommend is The Lady's Guide to Celestial Machinations. I've heard about that one because people have talked about it. So I would read that. But I have a ton of books on my Kindle right now that I need to get through for romance books. And I only read romance books at night before bed. Like I read them on my Kindle like at night. It's just what I do to like calm down, I guess, for the day. I don't want to be reading like an intense fantasy book right before bed. It's just not my jam. So... what in particular do you find compelling about Hades and Persephone? I did a video because I would leave stuff out, but I did a whole video about that, so look that up. Any plans to do any live read-ins? I found them super helpful. I don't have any plans because Quarantine Pages is doing them so well, but I wouldn't be opposed to them. Moving to Philly in a couple of months. Any advice, favorite places, etc.? I think... personally, I think your enjoyment level of Philly will depend on the neighborhood and how much you like it. So I really like parts of West Philly. I like Fishtown. I like South Philly. I mean, I lived in South Philly. I didn't really go much into like, I worked in North Philly. I didn't live there. And like Center City is like too expensive. I love Old City and Renton House, but like, wow, rich. Like that's money. So yeah, as far as places, I like a lot of the food places. My favorite cheesesteak is Jim's. That's on South Street. I like Nomad Pizza. A lot of the pizza places I really like Nomad. And there's a place up in like West Philly that's really good. I'm forgetting. Was it like called like Broad Street or something? My favorite plant shop is what is it called? It's not Urban Jungle, which is on Passyunk. Really a lot of stuff on Passyunk Avenue is bomb. One of my favorite places, Adobe, was on Passyunk and now moved up towards like, not quite to Spruce, I think, but that place is really good. They have the best seitan wings. And the Pope, I hung out in South Philly. See, the Pope on Passyunk East is one of my favorite bars down there. Where else did I go? I like Druid's Keep in Fishtown area. I went out a lot in like South Philly and Fishtown. V Street, yes. Pizza. I'm pretty sure that was it. My favorite jewelry shop is in Philly. I think their Instagram is Holy Mountanism, I think. It's called Souvenir Jewelry. They're great. Yeah, I recommend a lot of I like the neighborhoods. Is my favorite ramen place there? No, my favorite ramen place is in Delaware. That's one of the only places that I liked in Delaware was the ramen place. Yeah, it really depends on your neighborhood. Get to know your neighborhood. But my favorite places to hang out were in South Philly and Fishtown. I didn't go to school in Philly, so I didn't know a ton of like West Philly, University City stuff. I worked a lot in West Philly and North Philly, so yeah. And then obviously like the neighborhood. I mean, I went to the neighborhood a lot. And for the neighborhood, I mean, the bars are changing all the time. But I really liked going to Back to Basics, which was at Taboo Lounge. So that was my favorite gay bar, gay club. Don't go to Voyeur. Don't go to Voyeur. Don't go to Woody's. Those are like mostly straight people. I mean, there are gay people there, obviously, but like it's very like the straights take over, and it's overpriced. Voyeur especially, God. I would go there sometimes at like 3 a.m. just to dance. And there is a speakeasy. I'm giving a lot of Philly info, sorry. There's a speakeasy off of Snyder, I want to say. It's either Snyder or Oregon, called The Republican, that I recommend you check out if you want a dirty but sort of fun environment. You would never know it's there. It's a speakeasy. You have to ring a doorbell, and you have to have like a membership card. You have to go with someone that knows it so you can like find people. And they're open after hours, and they have strippers. Which I never went for the strippers, but they do have a bar dog. People can smoke cigarettes in there. It's disgusting, but they stay open until like 4 or 5 in the morning. You're welcome. Do you recommend stalking Jack the Ripper? I haven't read that, so I don't know. Have you read The Betrothed? No, I don't think so. Do you like reading backlist titles or more current? There's a lot of fantasy backlists, but I'm worried they're super problematic. I tend to read like a mix of current release and backlist stuff. But I don't read very old fantasy stuff. Like even right now, like I just read The Black Prison by Brent Weeks. That came out in 2010, and I had some issues with it, right? So like there's so much good stuff being written right now that it's hard for me to go back. But there are a lot of series, like I want to read all the Robin Hobb stuff, and that's older. I'm catching up on Sanderson, some of that's older. Those are the major ones. Oh, I want to read N.K. Jemisin's first trilogy because that's the only one I haven't read yet. So I want to read, that's The Inheritance cycle. So yeah. Yeah, but I tend to read like stuff within the last 5 years more than anything. Have you read the Gossip Girl books? I never did. I haven't been to a club since the 90s. I go out drinking once every, like I go maybe 3 times a year. And I like only ever go to 90s and 2000s dance party nights if I'm going to go out dancing. Like I do not go, like I don't even know what's on the radio. My friends make fun of me. Like I don't know what the new music is. I guess TikTok has told me a couple songs, but like that's it. Like I only want to listen to the stuff from like the early aughts and the stuff I danced to when I was in high school. Because that's what happens as you get older. You're like, I don't want the new stuff. So that's all I do for like dancing and stuff. Is Booktube SFF Awards going on right now? What's happening? I'm not part of the Booktube SFF Awards, right? Like this year. I did not do it this year, not because I don't love doing it, but because my anxiety was so bad in the fall, as you guys know. And when we were like roaring up to start this year, I was like, guys, I don't know, depending on what people nominate, if I'll be able to read those books. And I don't want to feel like pigeonholed into having to read stuff that I might not want to read or might be like triggering to my anxiety. Like I just can't do it this year. And it was like pretty overwhelming last year. Like it's gotten less fun, not because of the rewards or anything, but like last year when I did it, it just wasn't as fun for me. And I wanted really to focus on, finishing out my TBR this year, and I knew that if I had to read books for Booktube SFF, like I wasn't going to get to do that because it's not like all the books were going to be books that I'd read or that were on my TBR. So I decided just like personally that I wasn't going to do it this year for like less stress, and I'm glad that I didn't. I love the awards and I love everyone that's involved, and Cass is involved and she's in the chat probably still, I don't know. And I'm you know, hoping for the best for it, but I like the stress that it caused, even though I didn't even do that much for the awards. I just had to read and like host a live show, was still just like a lot. Especially when you're having to read books that like you don't really necessarily want to read. Like I'm such a mood reader that when people nominated stuff that like I didn't want to read, it, like the first couple of years I was fine with it and I got introduced to some new stuff. But overall it's like I've gotten to the point where I know what books I'm gonna like. So it's just like I would go into something being like, I know I'm not gonna like this. And like I don't want to read it. Like the odds of me being surprised about that were slim. And I'm just kind of like, I don't want to, and I want it to be fun. And it just like had stopped being fun for me, but not because of the awards or the people or anything like that. Just anything putting a burden on my reading is like not what I want in my life right now. So did you ever do the 90s bar crawl in Newark at UD? I didn't, but I wanted to. I was gonna do it like right before I left, and then I didn't. I think because I was like out of town the week they were gonna do it. Like I had it saved as like an event on Facebook for a while, and then like never got around to doing it. So I also didn't want to go by myself. And my one friend that I went out with a lot when I was in Philly, like the few times I would go out with her. She like never really came down to Delaware that often. So I'm like, okay. And I'm not going to go with all the 21-year-olds. Like, I'm not going to go with all the college kids. Like, I'm not in college. I haven't been in college for some time. So I would rather go up to Philly, go to Taboo, or go to the Barbary, and go to their like 90s and 2000s nights. That's fine. The few times I wanted to do that every year. What book made you get into the fantasy genre? I feel like I briefly mentioned this in like the Get to Know the Fantasy Reader, but I don't know specifically what book it was because I would always go in the library at school and would just find books, and they were always like fantasy books. Like I would just reach for those. I remember distinctly a series, and you guys will probably know, that it was like, it wasn't Animorphs because they weren't like turning into animals, but I can see the cover. Like the cover almost looked like Native American art inspired, which would be like a problem now, but back in like the mid to late 90s, like wasn't. And I think they either had like connections with animals or turned into them. I don't think they did because it wasn't Animorphs. It was something else. I remember, and they were like pretty decently sized books. I read those, that like, cause it was like a series. That was very vague, but anyway, I read those. I read the Sabriel series in high school, or the Abortion series, sorry, in high school. But I remember like picking up a lot of like, I almost like remember reading like paranormally middle grade, like not Are You Afraid of the Dark, not R.L. Stein, like not Goosebumps, like not that stuff, but like, and not like paranormal romance necessarily, but just like fantasy-ish, magic-ish, nature magic-ish books. If you had to choose between fantasy and sci-fi, what would it be? Fantasy. I love sci-fi, but like I love a specific type of sci-fi. Like I love space opera and space western, where I love like almost every genre of fantasy, you know? Ooh, Joe, yeah, definitely DM me about the Barbary and let me know what your feelings are because I probably have thoughts about them as well. Any book setting genre that you wish you could get into but just can't? Not really. Like I don't really have any feelings about things that I wish I could read or get into. Maybe I guess people mentioned like the Diviners earlier, and I wish I could read something like that. That was like, even though it was kind of spooky, but I don't really feel any like regrets about like not being able to get into certain stuff. You know, like I'm okay. If you ever come to the UK, you need to go for a night out in York. There's a Viking themed bar called Valhalla where you can buy mead. Okay, I've heard some beautiful things about York. Apparently, so Sarah Jane of the Book Life, who lives in the UK, went to York like a few months ago, and she went to, I think like it was a restaurant called The Botanist, and they had like a ton of plants in it, and it was great. So I want to go. My plan was to actually go to the UK at the end of this year, but I don't think that's going to happen with everything that's happened. Oh man, I missed some questions. What's the most feminist book you've ever read? I want to say, honestly, that it was, like, the one that sticks out to me the most is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Like, that was the first book that I was, like appalled, you know, by, like, what it was showing me. And it gets increasingly more terrifying as time goes on. So, yeah, that's definitely the one. What was the last Anita Blake book that you read? I think I got up to, like, I counted them the other day. I think I got up to, like, 15. I forget. Did you watch Little Women 2019? I haven't yet, but I plan to. I'm so surprised you don't like horror given your taste. So here's the thing. Like, I am someone who likes a certain level of spook, but your girl is anxious. I don't like scary things. I don't like being scared. I don't like horror movies. I don't go to haunted houses. I don't like all that stuff. Like, I don't. I know people are like, oh, but you like witches, and you like, yeah, but I don't like scary witches. Like, I don't like that stuff. I don't like anything that's, like, thrill seeking. Like, I'm not into roller coasters or, like, amusement park rides. I have anxiety, so I don't want to be scared. My body wants to scare me, like, all the time, you know? Like, it's not an outlet for me to be scared. So yeah, I'd like there to be a certain level of, like, fun and happiness. What exactly is a space western? Basically the Mandalorian TV show is a space western. Firefly is a space western. It's a series that will have western tropes in space. So typically speaking, it's like, the ones that I've seen are usually on, like, the outskirts of space. So they're not just like the Wild West, you know? So they wouldn't be in, like, a major metropolitan kind of area. It's not really involving, like, a grand war or anything like that. They might get pulled into that later, but, like, it doesn't start with that. That's like space opera stuff. It's usually, like, a ragtag bunch of space nerds trying their best on the outskirts of space in, like, the underground of stuff. Doing something usually, like, semi-illegal. Like, it's usually, like, smugglers or assassins, mercenaries, this kind of thing out in space. Yeah, and it'll have the Western tropes. Like, The Mandalorian is the, like, most space Western, because The Mandalorian straight up has, like, scenes that you're like, those are Western tropes. Like, there's, in, like, every episode, there's something that's like, that's from Western. So, yeah, I love them a lot. But space operas and space Westerns are my two faves for sci-fi. I missed some stuff. Any reading plans for June? Just to finish up the rest of the books in my TBR. Have you ever read adult fantasy romance? I want to. I don't think I'm going to read any more Danielle Jensen. I might have given up on her. I haven't liked the stuff that I've read by her so far. You guys are talking about bars that have, like, themes to them, and I want to go even though I don't even like drinking. Favorite period films? Any Austen adaptation, really. So, like, the most recent Emma, 2005 Pride and Prejudice, the BBC miniseries of North and South. What else? I do like a lot of, like, the really badly done Greek history movies. So, like, Gladiator, Troy, I do like those, even though they're not accurate. They're, like, not historically accurate, but I have a soft spot for them. I also have a soft spot for Braveheart, not historically accurate. The Patriot. I used to like Mel Gibson when I was younger, before he revealed himself as a trash can. But more like, I like, oh gosh, Far From the Madding Crowd, that came out a couple of years ago. A lot of, like, adaptations of classic novels are, like, my favorite period films. Would you be open to sci-fi books with horror elements, like Into the Drowning Deep? Yes. I actually want to read Into the Drowning Deep. But yeah, I have to be just careful. Have you ever watched The Handmaid's Show, or Handmaid's Tale TV show? No, because it's too close to home right now. I did see your video, but yeah, it's too real, man. I can't. Have you ever considered watching Clone Wars or Rebels? Yes, I've wanted to watch Clone Wars. I have Disney Plus now, so like I could. I have a hard time getting into TV. Like I'd rather just play video games or read. Any series you don't think you'll read but that you're curious about? Not really, because if I'm curious about it, I want to read it. Did you ever watch the movie Cowboys and Aliens? No, but I've seen clips of it. But no. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I don't think that The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet is really space western. It's more like slice of life space, which I also love a lot. One of my favorite series. I watched Troy years after Pirates of the Caribbean and couldn't accept Orlando Bloom not knowing how to use a sword. Yeah, I mean, remember when Orlando Bloom was like the it boy and he was in like so much stuff? Wasn't that funny? But yeah, I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's also, I mean, like technically it's like a period movie, you know? Sort of. Do you think he'll do a Get Ready With Me for Umbrella Academy Season 2? Probably, because I am pretty excited about that. Rank in order of importance to you: plot, writing, character development, world building. It's hard to say because they all interact, you know? I think character development is most important to me because it will make up for a lot. Like if I love the characters, I'll forgive a lot of stuff. I think world might be next. And then plot and then writing. Hard to say because they're all like so important. But characters are the most important to me. Like those being well done, their arcs being well done, their behavior making sense for who they are. World, especially for fantasy, like you can't have a sloppy world. Like it's going to take away for the story for me. And then plot, again, like if you have great characters in a great world, you might get away with a sloppy plot for me, but like usually they all three have to like gel, you know? And then writing, I can forgive some writing things. Like I can forgive it, you know, like especially if I go into it knowing that I'm looking for a certain thing. So, yeah, it's not that the writing's not important. It's just, I mean, but at the same time, like the writing is obviously going to be good if the characters are good and like the world's good, you know, because like they feed into each other. So. Do you think The Expanse is good for someone who's re-entering sci-fi? I think so, because I feel like it's very easy to get into and pretty action-packed. Do you watch Netflix? I do, but like not a lot. Like TV is like the bottom of the list of things that I do. Any good Hades or Persephone Rex? No, not right now, because I don't have enough to recommend at this point. Are there any Pirates of the Caribbean-ish books you recommend? Summer makes me want to read about pirates. The only recent book that I've read about like pirates kind of is All the Stars and Teeth, which I think is good because it also has like sirens and stuff. And then otherwise it's the second book in the Lies of Locke Lamora series and like The Gentleman Bastards, Red Seas Under Red Skies. Those are the two pirate books that I've read that have actually been good. Otherwise, I think every other pirate book has disappointed me. Possibly. How's Odyssey going? Good. I've taken a bit of a break because I got really far in the main storyline, also doing side quests, and I was like, I don't want to finish this too soon, so I haven't played it for the last like 2 or 3 days at all. Just to give myself a minute. Although today I did kind of feel like I wanted to play it, so I might play it again like over the weekend, but I maybe won't be playing it like every day like I was, because I think I'm getting to the end of the main storyline, so I don't want to play too much of the main storyline. I have a lot of side stuff to do still. I mean, like, I do a ton of side quests anyway. Like, I'm constantly the person that's not doing the main storyline. I'm always doing the side quests. So I have a lot to do for that. How long have we been going? For almost 18 minutes. Have you read any good Angst recently? What was the last good Angst that I read? I mean, like, Kingsbane had some good Angst, but I don't love the couples in Kingsbane as much as I could. Who was the last? I mean, probably, like, Dark Dawn was the last, like, really, like, solid What was the last, like, clutching my chest angst that I read? I can't really think of any. I'm trying to remember. If I could pull out my Goodreads right now, I'd be able to tell you. I just get so focused sometimes on the book I'm currently reading that's hard for me to, like, think without seeing, like, the visual reference of the books that I've read. What was the last good angst? Probably, like, Dark Dawn. I don't know. I never watch TV. I spend most of my time on YouTube. For me, I spend the most of my time of my day, like, probably reading. Then it's, like, YouTube and now TikTok and some Instagram. And then video games. And I have, like, barely any time for TV. Like, I just don't watch a ton of TV. I have so many shows that I, like, in theory want to watch, but I just, like, I get less enjoyment out of binging a TV show than I do out of binging a book or a video game. Are you going to read Alexa Bracken's new book, Lore, for the Greek mythology theme? I haven't heard about it. I will look it up because it is Greek mythology. However, I haven't liked a lot of her books. So, what's a series with God tier slow burn romance I want to suffer? Oh, who is God tier slow burn romance? I think one of the series I suffered for most was probably The Winter's Curse. That was some slow burn. I do like the slow burn and the romances in general in the Witchlands series, Truth Witch, by Susan Dennard. I like the Remnant Chronicles for angst. Someone asked, what's the series or what's the book that most recently made you cry? And I cried at Beach Read by Emily Henry. That's another book that I think maybe the most recently angsty book that I read. There was some angst in there, but it was like good angst. It was not contrived, not miscommunication. There were so many things in there. Like, I think I cried like 3 times because the book just like hit me in the feels. Like, just, and not even just the romance stuff. Like, it's a book that's like, it's a romance, but it's more. And I just was like, ugh, like all the time. And yeah, I think I cried 2 or 3 times reading that book. But it's not like a sad book. It's just, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. What do you look for in a main character? I mean, I don't have like necessarily like a type of main character. My favorite main characters tend to be women who are stubborn, who do some impulsive things but like learn from it. Who are like dangerous, but trained dangerous, who are like politically savvy, and bi. So me. No, like, those are my favorites. But I tend to like, obviously, like morally gray characters. I tend to like just people that are like smart. Like I tend to like people that are smart more than people that are deadly. Like, I love a good deadly character. Like, I love a good like assassin, you know, warrior, whatever. But like people that are like intelligent are like my faves. Like, that's why even though like I didn't love a lot of, or like I didn't love The Black Prism that I just finished reading, I loved Gavin, who's like the main character, because he's like smart. Locke Lamora, smart. Kelsier from Mistborn, smart. Assoon from the 5th season, smart, impulsive, stubborn, deadly, all of it. Mia from Nevernight fits all of those, although she can be like real dumb sometimes, but like generally smart, deadly. Kestrel from The Winter's Curse, smart. Leah from The Remnant Chronicles, smart. Alina, although some of you disagree with me, from Shadow and Bone. Kaz and Inej from Six of Crows. You know, like, smart. Yes, love Kelsier but hated Vin. Same. Vin's dumb. Like Vin is not smart. She gets better as the series goes on. Kelsier's smart. Vin's not my girl. Don't love her. Never did. What games do you play? The Final Fantasy games, the Assassin's Creed games, Mass Effect, well, BioWare games, Mass Effect and Dragon Age, God of War, I want to play Outer Worlds, but yeah, basically like fantasy games, Skyrim. Are you specifically into Greek mythology or mythology in general? I love Greek mythology a lot. Greek, Celtic, like Viking, Norse, are probably like the ones I know the most about. Egyptian. I would say Greek and Egyptian and Celtic are like my top three. Norse comes like after that. And then I know like a little bit here and there about like some of like Native American, which is very broad, and like some like East Asian mythologies a little bit, but I know less about those. You know, Greek, Irish, Celtic, but Irish specifically. Slavic. Oh, Slavic's up there too. Like if I had to rank, Slavic's in top 5, Celtic's in top 5, Greek is in top 5, Egyptian's in top 5. I don't know what the 5th one would be in top 5 for mythologies. Because those are ones I know the most about. So. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up so I can see. Anyone have recommendations on the Poppy War or opinions on the Poppy War? I have to read that book. I'm going to read it next month, I think. I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but for me, I've noticed I don't really enjoy TV anymore. It's not that I don't enjoy it. I just don't enjoy binge watching it the way that I used to. Because I used to be like really into it. And I do like, I feel the most visceral like shipping feelings from TV. But it's almost like I don't have the energy to watch it. I think I also don't have the attention span. Like I'm so, like, we've gotten so used to just like instant, I don't know, like it's hard for me to like watch something now. It's weird. Do you think J.K. Rowling will write books that are similar to Harry Potter in the future? I hope not. I don't think she's going to really do anything more with Harry Potter. I hope. I don't know. I don't really care what J.K. Rowling's doing, to be honest. I've never, like, stanned her anyway, so her, like, downfall in the public eye has, like, not had any kind of sway over me. But, yeah, like, I don't have any interest in, like, reading more books by her. I'm not saying that I wouldn't if she came out with something that was interesting, but, like, I don't really care, you know? So best shade. So basically you like the kind of character V.E. Schwab wishes pretend she's writing. Basically, which is why she lets me down so much. What video game consoles do you play? Just PlayStation. I love PlayStation. It's my favorite. I am very loyal to it. You could cheat and say Roman is number 5. Yes, but Greek and Roman are like so like similar. And Greek is better. So. Favorite goddess? Persephone. Persephone, the Morrigan. Those are my 2 favorites. I love me some death gods. I do like Isis. And then I like Artemis and Athena and stuff like that, but like Persephone, top. The Morrigan, top. They're so good. They're so good. Sam, I just read The Priory of the Orange Tree, and knowing how our likes overlap, I can't wait for you to pick up, have the chance to pick it up. Yes, I do plan to read that at some point, but I need to finish some series first. Any assassin books with characters who are actually assassins? Maybe Nevernight. Yes, Nevernight for sure. I would say the, what's it called? Shattered Sands series by Bradley Baleo. The first book is 12 Kings and Shirakai. Those are actually assassins. Not a ton of YA books have like actual assassins. Those are ones I'm thinking of. Yeah. It's hard to think of books with actual assassins in them because there's so few. Thoughts on Frozen 2? I loved it, and I think it's better than Frozen 1. Don't fight me. Have you heard about Naomi Novik's new Magic School series? Yes, I have, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Have you read the Iron Druid series? I haven't, but I am aware of it with the Celtic mythology. I'm very aware. Oh, Sam's in here. Hi, Sam. Are you planning to read Ruthless Gods even though Wicked Saints didn't meet your expectations? Yes. I've owned Ruthless Gods for like months. Since like September or something stupid. But then I went through the anxiety phase and I couldn't really read it. But yeah, I do plan on reading it. I think it'll be fine. I think I'm at a good point. I'm on a different anxiety med, so that's helping a ton. So I think it'll be good, even though there's like a ton of body horror in there. So yeah, I do plan on reading it probably next month, maybe July. This is the most I've talked in like weeks, so I'm getting a sore throat. I'm gonna have to leave soon. I really need to pick up Nevernight, but worried the prose might be a bit too much for me. It sounds pretty dramatic or emo. The prose I don't think is like, I think the prose is good. So yeah, some people don't love the writing style, but I do like it. Speaking of Nevernight, is there LGBT rep in there? I've heard different things. Got like a bug in my throat. Yes, there is. There's bi rep, there's ladies loving ladies, and it's great. I'm not sure if there's any, I'm trying to remember from the first book, if there's any other like side couples. But yes, there's a lady-lady relationship. Have you read The Beautiful? No. I have not, but I have it, and I probably will read it next month, because it's on my shelf. Cassie's new adult series is going to be called Swordcatcher. I'll have to look it up, because I have, like, no knowledge of it. You should try reading The Skyweaver. It's hate to love angsty female romance between a pirate and a soldier. Ooh. I'd be down. It's so hard for me to take recommendations right now because I have all the books in my TBR that I have to read that I've been telling you guys I'm gonna like, oh yeah, I'll read that as soon as like I finish my TBR, but then I have all these books on like my series I want to finish list. So I just have a lot of things I need to read and I don't know when I'm gonna get to like new stuff. Not sure if anyone's asked this, but how are you doing? I'm good. The last week has been just kind of like weird for me. I felt kind of just like blah. I've gotten in a pretty good routine with the whole quarantine thing, but like I just have been feeling like, you know, like I'm not like some stupid people that are like, okay, I'm bored, so the virus is over. But I'm just like, okay, like I just want to get to a point where I can envision the future because right now I can't. And I feel like a lot of other people can't as well. And it's very hard for me as somebody who does like daydream to like not be able to envision like what things are going to look like when, you know, like I've had times in my life that I've been more miserable than I am now, but I was always able to see a different, like knowing there was a different future. And I know, you know, intellectually that like we're going to get through this and like things are going to like return to like normal-ish, you know what I mean? But like I can't envision it right now, you know, like I don't know what it's going to look like for a while, you know, like it's going to take a while to get back to like normal, you know? So like, what's that going to look like? When is it going to be okay to like hang out with your friends? Like, and actually okay, because I know that some states are opening up, like Illinois is going to open up next month and like you can hang out with people and like with social distance, whatever, but it's like, when will I feel safe to do that though? Like, when will, like, I am single. I would like to date. I would like to find a person. I know what I want. I'm ready. Like the universe knows I'm ready. Like I know what it is I'm looking for and the type of person that would like, I would be good for and they'd be good for me and whatever. But when am I going to be okay, like meeting up with someone that I don't know and don't know their social habits and like potentially kissing someone that like, usually I'd be fine kissing somebody like shortly after meeting them. I mean, like, you know, within a couple of dates or whatever, but now I'm like, but that could kill me, you know, like when is it going to be fine, you know? So like traveling, like I like to daydream about traveling. Right now it's like I can't even daydream about traveling because it's like I don't know when I'll be able to do that stuff. I don't know when I'll have a job. I don't know when I'll be able to move. you know? Like, before it was like I had a timeline at least, and now it's like I don't know when that's gonna happen. So yeah, that's what's driving me a little bit insane. It's less the boredom and more just like the lack of end. Have you tried online dating? Yes. The thing is with me and online dating is, so I am talking to a person right now through online dating. We're going to meet up when this is all over, and I think they're great. However, online dating doesn't work super well for me because I cannot tell my attraction to somebody from pictures and texting. I can't. And I'm not comfortable FaceTiming with someone that I haven't met before in real life. Like, I don't really FaceTime with anyone except for family anyway. So, like, when I do online date, like before this all started, I would meet up with people like within the first week of talking to them because I don't know, I have no way of knowing if I'm going to be attracted to you. I'm attracted to people's mannerisms a lot. Like, it's not even the way that someone looks, it's the way that they like move their body that is attractive to me. There's no way for me to tell that from talking to you on an app or seeing photos of you. Like, I have to sort of envision like, does it look like they will move in a way that I like? Like, literally. And it's just, yeah, it's not, and I know within minutes of meeting somebody if I'm going to be romantically attracted to them. Minutes. So like I have to meet people in person. Like, and like some people do not talk the same via text as they do in person. So there's plenty of people that I know, men in particular, who are horrible texters, but in person they're fine. Well, if I don't know that about you, and I'm not going to assume that about you, if I don't know that about you, then like the texting is all I have to go off of, and you're horrible at it. So yeah, basically, I wish I could. I wish I could submit a tape. Please fill out this questionnaire. I don't want to invest my time. Basically, at this point, I've decided, and this could change if I decide to change my mind, but I basically only want to talk to women on dating apps and not men. Men have proven themselves untrustworthy on dating apps. Women seem to be, it's less of a, I don't know, it's less of a emotional burden on me to talk to women on dating apps because I know with women, if we meet up and there's no romantic spark, we can still be friends, like for real. Men, no. They are not. I've yet to meet one that's capable of that. So men have to prove themselves to me in person from here on out. Like, and I've always met people in person. Like, I've never met someone off an app before anyway. Like, none of my past relationships, I've online dated before in the past, and none have ever resulted in a relationship. It's always been people I've met in person because that's where I make connections easiest. I know there's plenty of people that make connections easier on online dating and like being like pen pals and text pals for a while. No, like even the person I'm talking to right now, they are wonderful, but it's like, I don't know if I'm attracted to you. Like, I have no idea because I mean, we've been talking and like, you know, and it's great, but you're an interesting person. But I don't know. I won't know until we meet up. So yeah, that was a long rant about online dating. So any advice, or what advice would you give to someone who has never dated before and wants to try dating in college? I think honestly, for never dating before, you kind of have to just like try it, and then like you sort of have to learn through mistakes, to be honest. Like you have to see what you like, because you're not gonna know, like, what I thought I wanted before I started dating is so different from what I want now. You know what I mean? So I think until you experience relationships and interact with people, you don't actually know what you want, and what's going to work well with you and everything until you try it. So it's kind of just like, in college, just like trying and not taking anything like super seriously, knowing that if something doesn't work out, that doesn't actually have anything to do with you. You can be, I saw something like this, I think it was on TikTok. You can be the whole package and still be delivered to the wrong address. What a great way to phrase that. Like, you are the whole package. You are a whole package. But you're probably going to end up at the wrong address a couple of times before you make it to the right address. So know that. But yeah, it is an ongoing process of learning. It's learning what to do and not do. It's learning what you do and do not want of a person. Definitely go into it. Here's the biggest thing with dating. And it took me a while to learn this, so you might hear it and not internalize it. But I think a lot of people go into dating and are like, does that person like me? No. Do you like that person? Like, I think we get so caught up in trying to make people like us and in trying to figure out if they like us and getting a high off of like, this person liked me, this person's interested, but that we, especially women, if anyone's a woman or femme-bodied or anything like that, or like female energy, whatever, we're so caught up in like making other people like us that we forget, like, do I even like them? Do you know how many people I dated in college, specifically, like my college, post-college years, that like I didn't even like? And like, not for long term, like I never stayed with people long term that I didn't like, but there are people that I like casually dated for like a couple weeks, a couple months, and I was like, you don't even like them. And what's so funny is ever since I moved back, there have been multiple dudes that have reached out to me on Facebook, which I barely check, trying to request me on Facebook that I casually dated like that. And I was like, oh no, honey, I don't like you. Like, I don't, oh, there's dog hair. So I think, and at this point it's just like, no, now I pay attention, like, and it's so simple. It sounds so simple, and it is so simple, but like we forget, because as humans, we want other people to like us, and we get very like attached to the idea of people liking us, and then it's like, but you don't even like them. You don't like what they have to offer. They're not a good match for you. And look out for red flags. Anyone that like tells you what to do, or is not nice to you, or talks poorly about exes, like all of them, not gonna be good. Anyone that makes you feel bad about yourself, anyone that doesn't really show interest, if they don't show interest, they're not interested, never chase somebody. Yeah. I feel like I've gotten to the point where I am like a wizened crone when it comes to dating. I mean, I haven't done like a ton of dating in my life. I've had 2 very, very long-term relationships. I've had 2 other shorter long-term, and then I've done some casual dating. So I feel like I know enough. And I very much know what I want and I'm looking for in a person at this point, which is great, which is why I'm just like, universe, send them to me. Like, it's what I deserve. Like, I've done the work. I've done the work. It's time, you know? Have you seen the cover for the new Wayward Children's book? Not yet. I'm actually 1 book behind on that series. What was their response to the Guy Fieri question? For those of you that don't know, I typically will ask somebody on a dating app when I first talk to them if they had to go to dinner with Guy Fieri or the guy from Ancient Aliens, who would they choose and why? And typically speaking, people don't respond well to this. And there's been a few people that have, but like, I had one dude like unmatch me like, for it, and I'm like, you can't hang. I think it's a funny question, and yeah, this person that I'm talking to, we didn't start talking that way. We started talking about something else. So yeah, but I'm like, I'm showing you how funny I am, and you can't handle it. How did your weighted blanket go? I love it. It's over my bed right now. I love it. I actually feel like I could go like 1 size heavier, to be honest, because I feel like my body's adjusted to it now. But it's so great. I definitely feel like I sleep better. What was the most boring book you have read but still ended up reading the whole book? Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, because I had to read it twice for school, in college and high school. It's awful. Any advice for people starting out on Booktube? Look up all of the Booktuber advice videos. I've done one like years ago, but really it's just a matter of like trying it out, seeing if you like it. That's like a boiled down version. But there's so much advice out there in video form, and I couldn't even go into all of it right now. What don't you like about Lore Olympus? Please rant. There's nothing that I don't like about it, actually. The one thing that is getting me a little bit is that it's been going on for so long, and it's taking so long for the Persephone character to get to the point where she's like a badass, because she's very like cute. So she's basically been like Kore for like a while, and I'm like, okay, that's great, but they show snippets of her like what she's gonna turn into, and I'm like, I want that because that's the Persephone that I like, so I know that it's gonna like happen, but I'm like, right now you're still so like cutesy and naive, and like that's not the Persephone that I actually like. I want to see her being Persephone. So that's the only thing that I don't like about it. Otherwise, I love everything else about it. Have you read The Girl from Everywhere? I have not. Have you read any Alexander Bracken books? Yes. I've read The Passenger and the first book in The Darkest Minds, and didn't really care for either of them. I sent a brie pun to a guy who worked with cheese, and he unmatched me. What is wrong? What is wrong with men specifically on dating apps? I need to know this, because I know that not all men are garbage, but on the apps, they sort of are. And I'm on the apps that are like more serious about dating. Like I'm not on Tinder. I'm on Bumble and Hinge. Actually, I'm not on either of those right now because I put them both on pause because I don't have time. I mean, I do have time, but I'm like, I'm not going to talk to people right now. Like I'm just not. I'm talking to one person, that's it. But men on dating apps are like, why are you here? Like, you made a brie pun. I am offended for you. You made a brie pun to a guy that works with cheese? And you didn't value that? A psychopath. He needs to go to jail. When I date, I ask what they can bring to my life. Yes. Like, what can you bring to each other's lives? But more, like, initially, especially when your brain is going crazy with all, like, the love crack hormones, you got to be like, what can you do for me? Because your brain's going to try to make it about them. And right at that point, like, you don't need to be doing that. What was your favorite book that you were required to read in high school? I liked Pride and Prejudice. I liked, The Pope, I think it was called, or The Priest. It's a gothic book. It was really good. I think it was called The Priest. It was creepy though. And I liked, did I read Dorian Gray for high school? I read a lot of classics back in high school without needing to read them for school. I liked Tale of Two Cities a lot. I don't know if I read that for high school or not though, or if I just read that in my own time. I just can't remember what I had to read and what I read myself. Do you think butterflies are a red flag in a relationship? That's what I've heard from some people. I do not think they're a red flag. I consider butterflies or a spark to be essential at the beginning. Like if I don't, for me, some people are different. If I don't have a spark at the beginning, then it's never going to work. I have to feel, like basically, statistically, like the best you're going to feel about a person is generally right at the beginning, because like, just because you guys don't have any like history, you don't know their bad traits, like there's nothing to be mad about, whatever. So if there's no spark and butterflies at the beginning, like what is there exactly? Like that's one of my determinants of if I'm attracted to somebody, and there has to be a certain level of attraction. However, if the butterflies are something that's like, if the butterflies are making you anxious, nauseous, if it's the butterflies of like fear that they're like not going to care about you, or if they like leave you on red, like go away for long periods of time and like don't talk to you, ghost you, whatever, like that's bad, obviously. But I think butterflies are like a major part of the beginning, because that's what your body does. Angstiest Jane Austen novel. I think Persuasion. What kind of content do you like watching on Booktube? You know, I'm a basic Booktube bitch, to be honest. I like watching wrap-ups the most because I get the most information in one video. I like trope videos, kind of like I do. Yeah, those kinds of like listicle recommendations videos. Those are kind of like my favorites. Actually, I don't watch a ton of Booktube right now, guys, because I know the books that I want to read, so I don't want to add to them. So I watch a lot of plant tubers and commentary channels and things like that, and some like witch videos now, and not so much Booktube. I watch some, but like it's not the majority of my feed. I saw a meme the other day that was like, all men are trash, but some are more like compost and some are more like nuclear waste. That's true. Do you follow Oprah and Reese's Witherspoon book club recommendations? And have you read any books they recommend? I don't follow them, but Reese Witherspoon did recommend her book club read One Day in December, and that's one of my favorite books. Do you ever read graphic novels? If so, are there any that you enjoyed recommend? My favorites that I need to catch up on are Saga, The Wicked and the Divine, Monstrous, and Descender. Those are my faves. Have you read The Tethered Mage? I have not. I'm thinking about getting a Kaz Brecker tattoo. Any recommendations? I mean, I would go for whatever quote that you really like. I really like the like, I'll crawl to you quote, but I feel like that's very like relationship centered, or I would crawl to you, whatever it is that he says. But yeah, I mean, he has a number of good lines. I just can't think of them off the top of my head. Recently I've been rooting for Mint and Laura Olympus because she's so dark gray, and I'm so afraid she's probably going to turn into a plant. She probably will, because that's how the myth goes. But I wouldn't be opposed to her turning into a plant, to be honest. What witchy YouTube? Every time I ventured over there, I've been disappointed and unsubscribed. I haven't followed someone specifically. I just look up different types of videos, different kinds of content. I think the one person I've watched a couple of times has been Witchling Wanderer, I want to say. But my favorite witch content is on TikTok. Chaotic Witch Ant is like my favorite. Yeah, there is like, I will look up like, recently I was looking up like tarot and oracle decks. So I was looking at people's like tarot and oracle deck collection videos. So like I look up that kind of content and not subscribe to one particular person. How'd the spreadsheet finagling end up? Good. I've narrowed it down to a number of series. I think it'll be good. Any series in Smoke and Bone you look forward to seeing? I'm not sure what that question is. I'm sorry. What's the one book you've read multiple times? The Night Circus. Do you have any scary experiences involving mice or cockroaches? No, I'm not scared of mice personally. My best friend in high school used to have a house that was kind of infested with mice. And so I would sleep over at her house and we would like hear them. So I don't hate mice. I think they're actually kind of cute. I did have cockroaches in my apartment in Philly, not because of me, but because we lived in a row home. And yeah, it was like our neighbors would have cockroaches. So that's the only time I've ever had cockroaches in my house, because in the Midwest, or at least where I live, we don't really have cockroaches. And one time I went to Wawa and got a quesadilla and came to my house and set it on my coffee table and opened it. I was sitting still in front of it and a cockroach crawled over it, and I was like, no, I can't fucking eat that. And I was so pissed. But it wasn't really a scary situation. It was just like, you motherfuckers. Like, that apartment was like full of roaches, and we didn't even have food out. It was just like infested. They bug bombed and like it never did anything. It was so annoying. Oh my god. I just finished Blood Witch and I love it. What's your favorite aspect or part of the series? Honestly, I love all of it. I love the witches. I love the characters. I love the amount of ships. I love the friendships. I love how everyone seems to be attracted to everybody, but in a way that's like believable and not like contrived. I love the world building. I love it all. I love that series so much. Were there any decks that caught your interest? My collection is pretty big. I'd be happy to share impressions and pictures. Feel free to send them over to me on Instagram. I cannot find a tarot deck that I love. I do have, I'll show you my deck that I actually do own. I thought that I didn't love this deck, but I took it back out, and I do. I've had this deck since, like, college, high school. It's a steampunk tarot deck, so I love the art a lot. It is very pretty. But this is going to be my tarot deck for a while. I'm going to learn more on this. And then I got the Threads of Fate Rose Gold Oracle deck, which will be my first Oracle deck. But I'm very specific about imagery and stuff. So I don't want tarot that has any creepy imagery on it. And this doesn't have that, like, scary. Like, you can be darker, but I don't want anything that's, like, scary. And I like it to be, like, pretty clear. There is a deck that's on Kickstarter right now that I really liked, but it was more like animals, nature, and I wanted something that had faces to learn. And then the Oracle deck is pretty, so. Would you ever try a witch subscription service? No, because again, even with like some witchy stuff, like I don't consider myself, like I'm into some of the witchy stuff, but I'm not like, I don't call myself a witch necessarily. And again, I don't like some stuff that's like creepy imagery, and some witch stuff gets very into like creepiness, and I'm like, I don't actually want that. Like, I like crystals, I like plants, I like essential oils, I like tarot cards, I like oracle cards, I like nature, magic, herbs, plants, that kind of stuff. When it starts to get into like creepiness, I'm like, no. Or like entity, no. No. I don't want any of that. So I don't think I could do a subscription service just in case they sent me something that I didn't want. Speaking of witches, have you seen Motherland Fort Salem? No, but I've seen the previews for it. I'm like kind of interested. Why do you love Asher and Jean-Claude so much? Your favorite moment between them? Oh, I haven't read them in years. I just really like their dynamic, and it's like a second chance romance kind of thing, and they have like a lot of history. So I just think they're really sweet. Once you get your library down to zero, is using your library something you're aiming to do even more in the future to save your shelf space? Yes and no. I don't, like, my libraries in the areas I've lived in and even currently, like, aren't super good. So, like, I still will probably be buying books, but, like, I'm going to continue to be picky about what books I let on my shelf. And if I'm just kind of interested in something, I'll get it from the library. I find it a bit odd, but it's still true. I look for different things when dating men and women. Yes. Yes. Like, the, attraction is different. Things I look for are different. Absolutely. I'm still generally attracted to like a more masculine energy, which is not like saying that that's female bodied or male bodied person. There's just a certain kind of energy that I'm attracted to regardless. But yes, the kinds of men and the kinds of women that I like are different for sure. I can see being into the Wild Unknown, but it's quite non-traditional with imagery and not great for learning. I've looked at the Wild Unknown, and there is some just like creepier imagery on there that I don't tend to love. So yeah, that's why I'm sticking with the steampunk deck for now. My Nana's a witch and introduced me to Witchcraft, and the first thing I got into were oracle cards, and I finally have my first deck of tarot cards. Yeah, I deeply appreciate all of the decks and stuff. Death magic versus nature magic. See, so like I love reading about death magic. I will not get involved in any of that. Like your girl does not want to talk to spirits. Like absolutely not. Like, absolutely not. I have a respect for death. I like death goddesses, but I don't want to do deity work. I do not know. Like that's not my jam. I love nature magic. Like as a person, as spirituality, I love it. I love it. I love everything about it. I don't necessarily want to be like a complete green witch. Like I don't want to have like a garden or anything, but I just like really like connection to nature, you know, rocks, crystals, plants, animals, spending time outside. Yeah. Do you have a relationship like Safi and Azul in your life? I did. I'm not gonna lie. I did, and one of my oldest friends and I had a falling out beginning of the year, and we are no longer speaking. So, sucks. But I do have friends. I mean, honestly, like Sarah Jane and I are very close to like a Safi and Azul type relationship. Like we are very, very close friends. We don't have as much time. I mean, we've been friends for like 5 years, so like almost. But yeah, it's that was my other closest friendship. So yeah, I mean that friendship that broke up was on the rocks for a while. So like I'm not as upset. I'm more like I'm just more mad because the other person could have done stuff and they chose not to, because I was very much like the last time we talked I was like, I love you and I would like to fix this if you want to. I value our friendship. The ball's in your court. And they did not engage. So yeah. Try any good recipes lately? I did try I made like a tomato bisque gnocchi soup and it was very delicious. Are you excited for any of the Disney Plus Marvel shows? The Loki show and the WandaVision show are the two. Are your magic hard stops a Christian holdover? Yes. So I have Christianity fucked me up. I was never super religious, but the fear that Western Christianity in particular tries to instill in people worked against my anxiety hard. So yeah, there's still a holdover from like that just it freaks me out. Like I have a lot of belief systems that I'm actively working to unpack with my therapist that Christianity like instilled and has a bad negative impact on my life. And I don't think Christianity as religion overall is necessarily negative. I think it can be a very positive force in a lot of people's lives. It has not been for me. It has never been like a positive thing. Like I haven't considered myself a Christian in a very long time, but I was raised in Christian schools. I went to Christian churches, and it has always been a negative, fearful, just like judgmental situation, you know? So I've never felt that like that feeling that people get when they have a religion, no matter what it is, that is positive for them. Like I have never felt that. The closest that I have like felt to that is now that I've gotten more into this like secular spirituality, like anything that's more of a spiritual practice and not a religion with like rules feels better to me, because I think a lot of the ways, I was thinking about this actually today, a lot of the ways that people interpret Christianity and the Christian God specifically is very like borderline abusive, honestly. Like the way that people like they like the way that God would like push you into behaving a certain way out of fear is like something that like abusive dynamic does, you know, like, hey, I'm punishing you is because I love you, like. So I think a lot of what that religion is supposed to be about has been morphed by the Catholic Church over the years, just the institution of what Christians did over the years, which is, it's been negative. Like I don't think anyone can say that it hasn't been negative. Like the institution of the church like did a lot of shitty things over the thousands of years or whatever, hundreds of years that they've been doing shit. So yeah, but yeah, so a lot of my like fears about religion and stuff can be from a fear-based upbringing when it comes to religions. So yeah, believing something is fine. Organized religion is full to the brim of problems. I absolutely agree with that. Like I absolutely agree that like I think lots of religions are great, but I think that the way people organize around them and the way that people use, particularly right now, Christianity to oppress other people is disgusting. And it's not even what the teaching is. Like people that follow a lot of like Christianity like don't even know what they're like what they're following, because they're not actually following like what the rules of Christianity are. Like, so yeah, I went on a big rant about religion, but yeah, it's just it's never been like a comfortable place for me at all. So There's friends of mine that are eclectic witches that work with elements and use crystals and herbs to work with those energies and not deities would be a good option. Yeah, I'm pretty much thinking that, like, if I do get into any kind of, like, religion, I might be, like, a secular witch. Like, I don't believe, really, in, like, if I fully intellectualize things, I don't really believe in, like, spirits and deities and things like that. I believe in, like, energies. And I think, and like, a very, like, I'm more in line, honestly, with, like, some of, like, the Buddhist, Taoist, like, Eastern religions, or even, like, some Native American stuff, where it's, like, everything has energy, and that energy isn't necessarily good or bad. You know what I mean? Because, like, nature in and of itself, like, there are things about nature that feel bad, but they aren't bad. You know, like, a tornado is something that we as humans don't love, but, like, it's not a bad thing, you know? Like, a volcano even erupting is not bad. It has a destructive property to it, but after it happens, like, things grow. You know, like, fire is the same thing. Like, fire in and of itself is not bad, you know? So yeah, I believe in a lot more, like, nature stuff, and, like, energy, and energy being, like, generally neutral, but they're feeling like positive and negative energy. So yeah, I can see myself doing, like, tarot, oracle, crystals, plants, herbs, nature stuff. All that kind of stuff is good for me, in my opinion. I feel that too. My therapist and I have been unpacking all the warped beliefs and fears I have learned from growing up in Southern Baptist I was in. Yeah. I mean, I grew up Lutheran, and it's not even like my family was the one that told me this stuff. It was, like, the schools that I went to that were so, like, indoctrinating, you know, like, so yeah, there are things about, like, my beliefs about being, like, a good or a bad person that are so religious focused, like, so just ingrained from, like, a young age. So yeah, it's shitty though, because I'm just like, damn, like, it affects so much. Like, it affects relationships, it affects obviously, like, sexuality and stuff like that. It affects beliefs about who I am as a person and my personality, and, like, all of that. It's just like, oh my god, like, what, like, why did you fuck me up so bad? Favorite magic systems in books. I love the Mistborn magic system. I love the Witchlands magic system. I like 5th season. I like the Grisha. I like Uprooted. Those were probably, like, my favorites. I get what you mean. I don't believe in ghosts, but there's a 0% chance I could live in a house where someone was murdered. Tragedy leaves a scar in the universe. Yes, that's precisely the kind of stuff I believe in. Like, I believe in, like, vibes. Like, I believe in, like, energy. But again, it's not like something is necessarily, like, negative or, like, malicious. It's just, like, there's just, like, I just feel like nature remembers stuff, man. Like, your body remembers trauma. Everything around us is alive. I feel like the universe remembers shit, you know? I can see why you appreciate Death Goddesses in particular. Lots of duality, recognizing the good in concepts the good in concepts Western civilization often deems evil. Yes. Yeah, so yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that. Yeah, I feel like death is a huge example of how Western civilization in particular has kind of, like, fucked it up, because we shouldn't really be as scared of it as we are. And honestly, if Christians believed the things that they do about, like, heaven and stuff, we shouldn't be as scared as we are as a society, but we are, because we live in fear that, like, we fucked up and we didn't do enough to get into heaven, and so, like, our eternal souls are in danger, and that's fucked up. That's so fucked up. We shouldn't be, like, afraid for our, like, eternal souls. I don't know, like, I also kind of, like, love the idea of reincarnation a little bit. Like, I kind of think that could be a thing. So yeah, I like a lot of like Eastern religions and stuff just because I'm like, basically any religion, and I know there's prosecution in like basically any religion, but I feel like the ones that like kind of leave other people alone, like Buddhists, I'm just kind of like, they got it right, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, you shouldn't have to persecute people or make people fear you, you know? And so again, the reincarnation thing, I'm kind of like, do the best that you can with the life that you have, and like maybe you'll come back next time and do more. I don't know, like I kind of like that idea. Ooh. Since you've been in a couple long-term relationships, what's your advice on knowing when it's coming to an end and when to push through it and keep trying? Okay, so here's the thing. I'm a stubborn person and I date stubborn people. So the few long-term relationships that I've been in, we have driven our relationship into the ground to prove that it's over. like we have, you know, because I've never gotten out of a relationship and been like, oh my God, could I have done more? Because I'm like, no, girl, you do the most until it's like, well, you can't do anything else. But now that I'm older, I honestly feel like I won't do that so much anymore because I've learned. Like, I know I can point out in my past relationships, I've been in 2 relationships that have lasted 5 years, and I've known 2 years into each of those that this wasn't going to work, but I kept forcing it. So now I'm more attuned to my intuition, and I think you just have to get to a point where you are attuned to your intuition about whether something's going to work or not. Generally speaking, like, yes, people can change, but like you both have to be actively, for it to work, if there's a problem, you both have to actively be working on it working at the same time. And that's so hard to have work out. Because I've been in couples therapy with both of these people that I was dating. And always, one or the other of us was working on it. And to have it work out, you both have to be working on it. And I think it's really challenging to figure out if you're both working on it. And it's hard to call the other person and be like, you're not working as hard as me, because then they're like, yes, I am. And you're like, no, you're not. So yeah, but I've always ran my relationship into the ground to prove basically is that, because I second guess myself, or I used to a lot more when I was younger. So I basically need to be like, no, you did everything you could. Like there's nothing else you could have done. But now I know, like, now I know the feeling, and it's so intuitive. Like I am such like an empath and so like intuitive that like I like feel it. I mean, really, what my last relationship, like when I didn't want him to come home for Christmas with me, and I didn't want to see I didn't want my friends to like hang out with him when he came home with me, that was like a pretty good sign. But it was just, I'm really bad about, if a relationship isn't abusive, like giving up on it, which is bad, which is something that I've learned. Like, it doesn't have to be abusive for you to leave. Like, you can just not be compatible anymore. But yeah, it's, I know now where I didn't used to know, but it's so intuitive. You cover such a wide range of topics in these live chats. It's hard to be bouncing around to such different topics. Sometimes, I mean, I really should go now because like my throat is hurting, but this is really interesting to me. So I like talking like these kinds of conversations are the kinds of conversations I would get into with my friends about like religion and relationships and stuff like that in like face-to-face conversation that I'm like missing desperately. So the fact that we're talking about this and not like just about books, I'm like, okay, I'm staying because I'm like, this is interesting to me. So yeah, but it can be a lot to jump around like this. And I do want to try to answer like everyone's questions as much as possible. So it can be hard. The 5th season seems hard to get into. Does it get a little better? You get more used to it, I would say. I'd love to see more religion in YA. Authors could explore so much more. Yeah, that's one thing that I really actually like about adult fantasy, because I feel like adult fantasy dives into how religions impact society so much more, and I love that element in world building. I've seen too many people do past life regressions to believe there's no chance of reincarnation. I think it's a thing. I do. Have you ever read From Here to Eternity, The Search for the Good Death by Caitlin Doherty? No, I haven't read that, but is that the Mortician? Is that the Ask the Mortician woman? I could be wrong, but I watch that channel a lot. Yes, I've never liked the idea of needing the reward of getting into heaven or being reincarnated into a good life to dictate how you act as a person. We should naturally be decent human beings. Yes, like any kind of like, that's what I'm saying, any kind of fear to get people to act better is garbage. So like religions that base their religion off of that to be like, be a good person. And the thing is, like, even Christianity doesn't, at its core, doesn't do that, but it's been morphed to do that. So much so that people feel like they need to tell other people when they're going to hell. Excuse me, have you read the Bible in which Jesus actually says, like, ye who is without sin cast the first stone? Because you fucking couldn't. like, I don't, makes me so angry. So, yeah, just any of the religions that use fear as a control, because fear is a way to control masses of people, makes me think that, like, ooh, humans got into that too much and now it's all fucked up. Do you lighten your hair? If so, do you do it yourself? No, I don't. This is the lighting right now that makes this look lighter than it actually is. See, if I go back here, it's darker. So I don't color my hair at all. I kind of like, so I'm getting gray hairs. You guys can't probably see. Can you? You can kind of see them. See? I'm getting gray hairs, but they look kind of like highlights. So I'm leaving them because I kind of love them. You can sort of, like, the lighting right now is hard to tell. You can see it really good in sunlight, but like I have some like specklings of gray hairs here and here. So I kind of love it. Weird question to ask. Oh, no, it's fine. Were there any particular traits you appreciated or didn't in a couples therapist? Yes. Okay. So my therapist that was my current therapist was actually my couples therapist before she was my current one, and I kept her because we mesh so well. But I've had 3 different couples therapists over the years. And what I think I like about my current therapist and didn't like about the last therapist, but didn't know that it wasn't a good fit, was my last couples therapist basically was like, here's the methods that work, that are like clinically proven to work for making a couple like stronger and getting back together and whatever. So you need to do this. And my partner and I, like, this method wasn't working for us for like years. We went to her for like 2 years. And she just kept being like, well, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. And it was like, it's not working. And my like current therapist, and the one we went to right before we broke up, she was like, okay, if something doesn't work for you, it's not going to work for you no matter how much it's supposed to work, and you should try something else. There's different tools. So basically, I prefer a therapist that like has an eclectic toolbox of things to do and will change direction if need be, like who can work with, like, be flexible. A couples therapist that's very rigid and is like, even if something is like clinically proven to work, if the couple isn't, or the person, no matter what therapy, any kind of therapy, if the person isn't doing it, it's not going to work. So it doesn't matter. So you have to be able to like change around. So I think that is good. And also both therapists were good at this. Actually all the therapists I've gone to have been good at this, but like a couples therapist has to be good at making sure that neither person feels like they're on their side. I now know, because I kept my same therapist, that my therapist was on my side. But when we were in couples therapy, I didn't know like who she was like pulling for, you know what I mean? Or who she like sided with. Like she was so neutral about like, you know, and making sure both people like were equally heard. Now when we talk about stuff and unpack stuff about that relationship, I'm able to tell like at least a little bit, like, okay, like you, because she'll like do some digs, like she'll be able to be like, well, he wasn't emotionally mature enough to handle you as a person because you're so mature. And I was like, you know, like, so that's cool now, but like I never knew that when we were seeing her as a couple. So yeah, those are the big things, is being able to be flexible and to be neutral appearing to the couple. Does being a therapist yourself influence your own therapy relationship with your therapist? Yes, a little bit, because she's able to, like, I think it's more helpful actually, because she's like, okay, so you know this thing? Like, she'll be able to use, like, examples of, like, therapy concepts or, you know, like, the literature that I know. She'll be able to be like, oh yeah, so that's Erickson's blah, 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 you know? And I'll be able to be like, yeah. And she can also relate to my career because we both have the same career. I mean, I'm working in, like, medical settings right now, but, like, I want to be, like, just a private practice therapist eventually. So, like, we can relate that way. But she can basically use, like, intellectual, career language that she couldn't use with, like, a layperson. Because we're, like, kind of peers, but she doesn't treat me, like, we don't talk like friends, but, like, she can communicate to me in a way that I'm like, oh yeah, you know, she can, like, pull me in that way. So that's helpful. And just, like, I think I'm better able to be like, is this a good therapist or not? You know, generally speaking. And I think it's helpful too, because I know stuff. I'm much better able, like, quicker to, like, pick up on concepts and how, like, I see behind the veil, so I, like, know what she's doing a little bit, which I think might not help some people, but I'm able to be like, okay, that makes sense to me. You know what I mean? So. Favorite plants in your collection? I love all of my plants. These will be better. My calatheas will be my favorites again if they start flourishing. My favorite is probably my Scindapsus. I'm actually gonna do a plant tour. So if you like my plant content, check out my description box, or, like, my description box of my other videos, because it will have the link to my other channel, which is where I'm gonna be posting plant content, because I love it. Sorry, I have to scroll through to make sure I'm not, like, missing anything. I know I'm missing some stuff, but... There are so many evidence-based models that can work. It's like your ethical responsibility as a therapist to adapt to the client's needs. Yes. But this woman that we went to for a while, and we got really attached to her because we were with her when I had cancer, so, like, we didn't really want to leave her because she was with us with that. But she was so stuck on a certain kind, and I was like, bro, this is not working. How should you deal with a guy giving you mixed signals? Like, how should you approach them? Okay, specifically with men. If a man's giving you a mixed signal, the answer is no. And it took me a very long time to get to that point, but straight men, specifically, I mean, I can't speak for gay men, but straight men, if they like you, they will always make that known, and any kind of mixed signal is a no. It's a no. Like, they are so trained to be a certain way too, and this is how, like, sexism, like, fucks with them a little bit, but, like, if they want to, like, lock you in or whatever the case may be, like, they're gonna make it happen. Like, there are guys, like, that I've gone out with, like, I know when a guy, like, you know when someone is interested in you. So if you don't know, and if it's kind of like, and he's leaving you, then it's no. Then it's no. Like, you're gonna know with a straight dude. Women are different. So, and women, like, the same thing too. Like, a girl's gonna just tell you if she's, like, into you. Like, that's the one thing, someone did a TikTok on this that I was watching. They were like, someone was like, oh, how do I tell if a girl likes me? And they're like, she'll tell you. Like a fuck girl will not say that she's into you, like, ever. She will just leave it casual. But yeah, a mixed signal is a no. Always. Always. I have learned that the hard way over the years. So now it's like, yeah, if you're not gonna give, like, if you're not doing the bare minimum, then bye, sir. What therapy models do you base practice on? I'm like an eclectic therapist, so I use a lot of stuff. CBT is like the biggest one for like just general stuff. CBT, talk therapy, narrative therapy, DBT. I did a little of like ecological system, family systems model when I did family therapy for a while there, which is helpful, but we got into it so late in the game that it was really hard to work with. So yeah, it's just kind of like, I think the best kind of therapist like throws stuff together based on the client's need. So I kind of use a lot of different models. I would love to have the time, like hopefully my next job, I'll be able to go to more conferences to get like deep training on some of these models, because I don't like CBT is the only one that I have like substantial training in. And like narrative and talk, like people know, like it's easier to do some of those. Not necessarily easier, but like it's more intuitive. Where some of the other ones are a little bit less intuitive. So yeah. How can I feel well after a breakup? I let go of my boyfriend because he really needs to sort some things out, but we love and miss each other. So I think in that case, if he needs to work his stuff out, you kind of have to like make it a clean break, but it sounds like you guys have the potential to come back together again. So just look at it as like you are both going to grow separately for a while. And if you grow back together, that's great. But if you don't, that's okay too. Like you kind of just like do what people kind of recommended, like focus on you. It doesn't sound like it ended in like a horrible way. So there's a lot of like goodness in that. And just like dive into your own things. Like try to do the stuff that like you didn't get a chance to do so much when you were together. Like, and that's not saying that he was keeping you from doing that stuff, but like, you know, there's some things like obviously a lot of time goes to your partner. You know, what went by the wayside while you were with him, and focus on those things, you know, but it is hard. So I'm sorry. Best plans for starting out, getting a new apartment in August and beginning my plant journey, but not sure where to start. There's a lot of plant videos by plant tubers on good beginner plants, but you kind of like, my recommendation is generally to try to find beginner plants that you like the look of. Like don't just get plants because like, oh, it's a good beginner plant, because I did that a little bit at the beginning and I was like, well, I don't really like this plant. Like you have to get stuff that you still like, you know, like the look of. So like I really like trailing plants. So I do like pothos and like satin pothos and like philodendron and stuff like that. But yeah, there's so many different kinds of beginner plants. So find the type that you like the look of, and get those, and don't just go for like, oh, well, people say ZZ plants are really easy. So like, I'll get that, but I'm not really that into it. You know, like you're going to be more attentive to that plant and take better care of it if you like the look of it. Do you read fan fiction? I haven't in a long time. I used to read like one-shots and stuff. How do you cultivate self-esteem? Oh God, that's such a hard question. I think it really depends. I think moving your body in a positive way is super helpful. So not for punishing and not for changing your body, but for making your body feel good. So I would look up like body positive exercise, body positive movement, joyful movement, things like that. I think that can be really helpful. I think focusing on when you like body check yourself, if it's like body self-esteem, focus on instead correct that negative thought by like, what are you grateful for about your body? Not so much what you love, what you're grateful for. And I think that's generally true for self-esteem in general. Like, what are you grateful for about yourself? What are your strengths? What are the things that people can't take away from you? Like, especially like the way you look, like self-esteem way stuff, like the way you look is the least interesting thing about you. Like no one's gonna remember like, oh, she was so thin. Oh my God, her lashes were so long. Like people don't talk about that. So yeah, just like focus more on that kind of stuff. What schooling did you do to become a therapist? So I got my undergrad in psychology and social work, double major. I got my master's in social work. And then I am getting supervised for my license, my clinical license, to be an LCSW. And that's like 2 years of supervised clinical hours. You meet with the supervisor every week and like they sign off on it. You talk about cases, blah, blah, blah. And then you take a test and then you're fully certified. And then you have to like make sure you have a certain amount of educational hours each couple of years to like recertify. Otherwise you have to retake the whole test and everything. So it's pretty extensive. I want to answer your guys' questions, but I need to get going because I've been talking for so long and I'm losing my voice. How do you get over romantic feelings for a friend that's unattainable but you don't want to cut off? Honestly, like in situations like that where I've had romantic feelings for a friend, the only way that I've gotten over it is like meeting somebody else. So, or just like kind of, I think also too, like having romantic feelings for a friend, like you're obviously like idealizing them, like try to focus a little bit on like the stuff that wouldn't work out for you. Like what are the things that would make them not a good romantic partner for you? Because I feel like we build fantasy versions of people. So try to focus on the reality of them and not just like the idealized version you have in your head of them. Okay, I think I've answered all the questions. So I'm gonna go because we've been here for 151 minutes. So I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'm glad that I could do this because I definitely needed some like chat time. So thanks for hanging out. I love y'all. Hang in there. Hope you're doing good. See ya.